Hello everyone, welcome back to the Green Room. My name is Victor and today we're going to be talking about Cobra Kai. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Cobra Kai never dies. And if you don't know what Cobra Kai is, I'm sorry for you. Cobra Kai is a Netflix show. Well, now it's a Netflix show. It used to be YouTube, but now they bought it. And it's a show where we follow Johnny Lawrence, the villain of the first Karate Kid. Yes, they moved from the 80s. Follow his life now, 30 and something years after the first year. So, Cobra Kai, right? As I mentioned, we follow Johnny Lawrence, the villain from Karate Kid, and how he's doing today. And it ain't good, let me tell you. He doesn't have a really good life. And one of the facts of that could be because he's still stuck on the 80s. He didn't grow, he didn't evolve from the teenager bully we saw on the movies, right? And the show works on that. That's how they make the character grow and evolve by learning and becoming an adult, especially in like 2020, 2015, whatever the show is set on. So what the show does is we started off in the 80s. We started locked in there, and then we started like evolving, learning about the technologies and things like that, and that's how he's growing as a person. And why is that? For example, the show shows us that he's learned Facebook and now he's a good person. Kind of, because he's learning from other people, and more specifically from Miguel, who helps him become a better person. And if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about, right? Because when we started off, the first thing Johnny tells Miguel is, "Another Mexican? Oh, come on, go back to your country," right? He's that type of guy. And as they start like becoming friends and Johnny starts training Miguel, Miguel kind of starts training Johnny and showing him how the world has changed, how we live, starts training him and showing how this world has changed and that he's not a really good guy. And so they both start learning from each other. And the whole, as I mentioned, Facebook, a cell phone that Johnny learns from Miguel how to use. It's usually tied up of Johnny wanting to reach out for someone. It's about learning to communicate. It's about growing up, pretty much, right? And I think they do like a very good job because we have those training montages. We have like two types on the show. The training montage like for fighting karate and the training montages of Johnny learning how to use a goddamn cell phone. And they're all amazing because they're both going to the same place, right? This character is growing, is becoming better, a better person, or is getting stronger at the same time. The only thing is, one of them is more like physical than the other, because the show plays a lot on the older generation teaching the new generation, and but the new generation that has always something to teach from the old ones, or the older generation as well. So we always have this back and forth. It's nothing like reinventing the wheel at all. Don't get me wrong. The show doesn't break grounds and storytelling. No, 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 no. And they don't try to do that. They are a very, very simple show, and they just want to tell like a nice story. And obviously, since they are always referencing the 80s, they have a very 80s feel to it. Not only because the characters are still stuck in there, no, but because the way the show is. It's incredibly exaggerated. It's incredible, over the top exaggerated for things. Because everyone knows how silly they are. From the production, from the actors. They all know how silly everything is and how over the top what they're doing is. So it doesn't really take you out of the zone. It's always the same tone, so you feel like it's believable. You believe on what you're seeing, right? And now let's talk about some of the characters. I mentioned Johnny Lawrence before, and how his learning technology is always something tied to him growing as a character, and is more specific about communication and learning that being strong doesn't necessarily mean being a bully, and but at the same time that character is one step forward, two step backwards. Because an example of season 3 for we have him learning how to use the Facebook to talk to Ali, right? First, he had that massive text that was like a Bible that he was going to send to her. Then Miguel sees that and says, "I don't think you should do that. Why don't you like summarize and talk about like some key points of your life?" So what they do? The montage of Johnny taking some new pictures about his life on Facebook. Um, he's learning the technology as he's learning how people behave on social media and how you can talk to people through social media, right? Because it's a little bit different than just talking to someone like person to person or calling someone. So he's learning about that and growing with that. And then we have him like a voiceover of Johnny at the end of the episode talking about how he has helped people and how Miguel and the kids are helping him become a better person. Really, really, really good speech, and he's from the heart. And then he raises everything to type, not much you. So he was almost there, and then he falls back. And then we have Miguel who's learning. He's going through the journey of I want to become stronger. I want to stand up for myself and but I don't want to be a bully. So he has this back and forth, and now he has been affected by karate in a way that he got hurt. He almost didn't walk anymore, right? So we have this thing about like, is martial arts actually violent in a way that makes people violent or not? And about like growing up, like a teenager growing up in high school, and I think they do a really good job with pretty much all the characters like from high school that is the talk about bully. They always been a show that talks about that in a really cool way because they show how the school doesn't do anything and they really don't. Um, they have the policy of let's hug each other like that would ever help anyone that's being bullied like telling the bully and the kid that's being bullied to hug they're not gonna help and they make several jokes to that but in the same way they talk about bullying and we have Hawk being this guy that was the most shy guy ever, the shyest guy ever. He was really introverted, and then he now is like the biggest bully in the school, right? And now he's coming back to it because he's losing his sense of personality. He broke his friend's arm, Dimitri. And let me tell you, that scene, the sound of the arm breaking is terrifying, for real. And Daniels is the arc where he has to realize he's more similar to Johnny than he realizes. Especially now that they had to combine forces to stop Kreese in the next season. And this whole buddy cop movie dynamic which was incredibly present in the 80s movies again it's back in season 3 a lot with Daniel and Johnny going after Robbie and then them being joining forces against the Freeze, right? So we have this and then that was a really popular genre on the 80s. Now I'll talk about the fight scenes. That's where pretty much all the budget goes because the show is really cheap. But they invest everything on the fights, on a good choreography because doing a fight scene it's not that easy because it can get repetitive and boring really soon. Why? It's just punches and kicks. So if you don't have a good choreography, a nice flow to it, you kind of don't want to watch it. So what they do is they shoot in different ways. And that being they don't do the classic punch, cut, reaction, cut, punch, cut, reaction, cut. No, they do something that's usually called the 3 or 5 point things, which is 3 or 5 um, hits, like let's say 2 punches, 1 kick, then they cut for the reactions before cutting, which is like a more dynamic thing. And Zack Snyder used that a lot on his movies. If you watch Batman vs Superman, that's everything he uses pretty much. Right? But the show goes a little bit further with that. And what they do is they shoot it like in a wide range, where you have the 3 or 5 hits, and the reaction is already in the same frame. You don't have to cut it because it's wide. You can see both characters fighting. So it's much more fast paced and more dynamic instead of like cutting, 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 cutting. No, you see that. And then they go I even step forward on the finales where we have the wonders. More specifically, the fight scene in the school at the end of season 2, which is a wonder. And what is a wonder? Wonder is when you don't cut. Is a take that is just keeps going for whatever you want. You don't cut, and those are incredibly hard. Even though you can make just a character walk in the hallway, one small thing you have to redo everything because everyone has to be in sync. Everyone has to be tight on what they need to do and when they need to do to nail that. Like the fight scene in the school, as I said, just doing a character walk in a hallway is hard. Imagine like a fight scene where a bunch of kids is doing that. And what they do is Samantha and Tori are fighting here, then Tori gets Samantha, like she pulls her in another room, and out of the room comes Robbie and Miguel kicking and punching, and since their punches are really powerful because it's again over the top. Like one punch makes people almost fly away. They're always like a punch and like oh and stuff like that, right? So you go this back and forth like in the hallway going, and then you have like the older dude that comes in out of nowhere and it's like beating up the kids. The whole school is just like yay fight, and I never seen a school fight like that. That would be pretty awesome though. And we have like 2 minutes, 2 minutes and something, a few seconds for this whole fight scene, which is really well done. The choreography is really cool. It's until Miguel falls off the rails, right? And then in season 3, they play on that as well. They have another fight scene in the end where Tori and like, Cobra Kai goes to attack the LaRusso house. And well, to start off, Tori just like kicks the door and like get down, and that's like really villain thingy to say. And as they run to start fighting, and since the LaRusso's house is like a square shaped house, and we have like the glasses here on the like open area they have in the middle. And what they do in the fight starts in the kitchen. So what they do is the camera starts moving around the house, but it is also moving on its axis, rotating its axis. So as long as the camera is going forward, the camera's rotating, so we're always seeing everything. And that, with a good choreography, like dynamic, makes for a really nice fighting. Those are things that sometimes when you watch it, you don't think about it. Um, but when they're set up together, they change everything. If you see a fight scene like that, that has a lot of care put into that, like the choreography and the way they're shooting, to a normal fight scene on a CW show, you can totally see the difference. And the feeling is different. And well, that was my take on Cobra Kai. I hope you guys had enjoyed it, right? I didn't touch on everything that I wanted to, otherwise it would be a long video. It's already long, but be a bit longer. I wanted to focus more on how being stuck in the 80s was important for the show and how they used that to grow, make the characters grow, and how the fight scenes, how they show those wonders. What is the thing there that makes them so fun and nice to see. And I do believe season 4 is going to be the last one because all the arcs are like narrowing down, coming to an end, and especially because Johnny and Daniel have finally got together to defeat the big bad, which is Kreese. So if you had enjoyed, please give it a like and subscribe. I see you in the next one.